another episode of I Must Ask You a Question. I'm not James Haick. I am Joey behind a mask.
Are you sure you look just like him?
I know. I heard that you needed some help today, and I had to sit in, but I had to. The requirement was I had to wear a mustache. Right?
You only have one, dude.
How's it going, Jen?
I love it. You have a glorious beard to go with it too.
I do.
Where did you win?
I recently I used to have it down to my chest, and Arizona's hot, so I shaved it off and I kept it close to my face. So I was like, no, it's really bad in the summertime. So yeah. So how's it going?
Yeah. I'm in Texas, and I also grew my hair really, really long during the pandemic, and I also occasionally on very hot days have super regrets. I understand now people that get their hair to a certain length, and then the next time you see them, it's a bob or like a buzz cut.
Yeah,
because they just had enough.
That's absolutely true. It's really bad sometimes. You have to just. I always liken it to that scene in Napoleon Dynamite where Pedro wants to shave his head because he gets so hot. Oh, yeah. That's exactly.
Okay, so let's talk beard maintenance. Do you do any fancy stuff like beard butter or balm or whatever other things?
I do. I do a lot of beard oils and things of that nature. I don't like to use the balmy stuff. If I do, I mix it in with some fractionated coconut oil or maybe some melt Luca. So things of that nature. There are. If you ask my wife, she'd probably say that I go absolutely too far with it. It's bad. They make fun of me. They're like, "What's Dad doing?" And my 11-year-old comes to the mom, and he's like, "He's fluffing his beard again, Mom."
Do you have one of those cool beard picks?
I used to. I have it. They're all. There's tons of them laying around everywhere. My wife gets the best combs and brushes for her hair. I usually steal those, and I usually hear about it later.
There's something about people's I'll share my husband's toothbrush, drink after him, eat up the same fork. Hairbrushes is just too far. I don't know what there is.
No, toothbrushes are too far. You can't share.
Nah. If you get close to your 30th anniversary, you're like, whatever.
That's hilarious. Well, everybody, obviously you guys don't know. You guys know I'm not James. James he was a little busy today, so I'm sitting in for him. But Jen, this is your show. What are you going to talk about?
Man, I always like to talk about what's going on and what keep people in the loop for all the things that are going in comic books and things that are related to comic books, so they don't miss anything, because there's been some big news things that have dropped in the last couple days.
Yeah.
So the biggest one I can think of that made everyone super excited and affected comic books right away was the Hawkeye trailer.
Yeah, that was huge. Did you get to see it?
I did, and it made me so nostalgic for Christmas because, let's be real. We haven't had an actual Christmas for 2 years. So to have a Christmas movie or at least one that feels like Christmas at Christmas time, it made me feel so good inside. I don't really care. My whole body was like, I don't really care what the movie's about. It just feels good to see Christmas.
So how did you? Okay. So number one, I want to know, do you have any speculations on from what you saw in the trailer, what Easter eggs you may have seen, or what kind of storyline do you think that they're going to be going with?
Well, what I'm really hoping for is that I'm hoping they're doing the Hawkeye free fall story that Rosenberg just wrote, but switching Kate out for who the character ended up being in the book, which I don't want to spoil in case people haven't read it. They should, because Rosenberg writes the best stuff.
Awesome. Yeah. I think there's so many great source materials out there for writers and creators to kind of comb through, right? And especially with a character who's been around for so long, like Hawkeye. There's so many amazing artists and creators who've written and drawn Hawkeye. So there's so much out there to pick from. Whatever it is, I'm just excited that we're going to get something really cool. We're going to see Kate Bishop. I'm excited for the next phase of these Marvel MCU movies. Everybody got it really excited about Shang-Chi. Have you seen it?
Oh yeah, I loved it. Life is busy enough that I haven't got to go see it again, which I'd like to go and just kind of like lean into it a little bit, because first time I'm always like, my comic head won't shut up. So I'm always trying to figure out what do they use from what storyline are we going to, what characters are going to show up and all this stuff. I just want to go and watch it again and just enjoy Awkwafina being amazing and Simu Liu kicking butt. There were some amazing fight sequences in there, which usually what people don't know about me is that if I go watch any movie, it doesn't matter if it's MCU or what, during the fight scenes, I take naps because I'm old. And all fight scenes are mostly the same if you're going to be honest about it. But I did not nap during any fight scenes during that movie because it was so amazing.
So are you the person who like you watch it and you have to like, in order to reel back from what you just saw in the theaters, you have to go back multiple times to see it over and over and over again?
I really do, because I suffer from a problem of being of having, not written like professionally, but written things. So I look at things in terms of the writing. And then I do costume work. So I have to watch the costumes to see, are those practically made costumes? Could you ever make it? Or is it only, can you only make it in CGI? Are people that are going to try to cosplay this going to do an impossible feat? Special effects. So like I tear apart it for all the reasons, like the soundtrack, how invisible is the soundtrack and how important is it to the film? Like if you watch an entire film and you don't remember the soundtrack at all, it was a successful soundtrack. Unless it was like all like, mood music, like when you talk about Guardians of the Galaxy, you were supposed to notice all the music in that film. But like for normal film with just regular orchestral accompaniment, if you didn't recognize it, then it did its job.
Okay. See, it's I don't know. I'm such an audiophile that I have to be excited about music or any kind of thematic kind of orchestra music. That's me. But that's part of who I am. I'm an audio engineer, so like anything audio like excites the heck out of me. Even like a really good movie score, like I'm just like, oh my gosh. When they hit this point with the visuals and the music and the sounds, man, they did an amazing job. Like that's where I'm at with all that stuff. So it's very interesting how many different perspectives, because of the way the thought processes and maybe even our careers, give us an idea of a basis of how we perceive these things. It's really, really interesting.
There are exceptions to the rules in regards to the soundtrack. Sometimes the soundtrack is a character, like Inception. The soundtrack's a character. It informs you what you're seeing. In Tenet, it is a character. It informs you about what you're seeing, what's going on. So, I mean, there are exceptions, of course.
I would even argue that the new Suicide Squad did that very well. Like they did it so good. It was there was another movie that I was just like, oh, who else did it really good? Cruella. I was actually really surprised. I don't know if you've seen it, but Cruella, with their score and their soundtrack and the visuals and the it's on par. I was like, wow, that's a really great soundtrack. They did really good with that. It was really.
I need to go and watch that. I mean, because it appeals to me because what it looked like, and I didn't get to see it yet, so I'm hoping that it is. It really does look like it's, Devil Wears Prada, but if Disney shot it.
I think that's a really great comparison, actually. Because and I would also say that in this one, Cruella is very punk rock, like super, like she gives me like a Susie and the Banshees kind of feel. I'm just like, oh, that's really, really cool. Like, and you do see her character develop, and you start to begin to understand Cruella. She's not an evil person. She's just misunderstood, and she just embraces the misunderstanding, I guess. It's a really good movie. I didn't think I was gonna like it. They did very well.
Yeah, there's a lot of movies that have come out in the pandemic that I think I'm sad that they didn't get a non-pandemic look, and they've kind of started to figure out how to do it right. Like I think Shang-Chi was the first one to actually do it correctly because they made it only theater release, so it didn't compete with itself for being at home.
And, well, that's an interesting thing that you bring that up, because So Disney's doing this whole thing, and it's just come out in the news that they're going to be doing the 45-day release in theaters only, right? And
Good.
they started that with Shang-Chi. And
Mhm.
because of Shang-Chi's like big, huge box office weekends, I think they like hit records in the first 2 weekends that they were out. And
Yep.
because of that, Disney's like, okay, maybe we could do this again. So now from here on out, all of their releases are going to be in theater for 45 days, and then they're going to hit Disney. I don't, and honestly, I think they even kind of backpedaled on that and said that it's only going to be theatrical release until whatever kind of contract they write with the studios or and the actors or whatever, how long it is going to be in the theaters. It usually is about 45 days anyway.
Yeah.
Around
And
around somewhere
it'll
around there.
solve some of those problems that they ended up with the Black Widow movie and in for Cruella, for the way royalties or whatever gets paid out. It'll solve a lot of those problems for sure.
I love this idea. I don't want theaters to go away, but
No.
I also don't want this portion of this to get political. But things are getting a little bit more wild now out there with this pandemic going on, and unfortunately I see a downward slope again, where I really don't want things to get shut down again.
No.
But that could possibly be something that happens in the near future again. That's up in the air. So these theaters doing all this stuff. There's still a handful of people who are still staying home and still not able to go to the theater. Yes, there's not a big huge percentage, because obviously we saw that in those first two weekends. But there's still a percentage of those people who aren't going to the theaters who are still missing out. How do we solve that? Do we? I understand this 45-day release, but is it going to be, when they release it after the 45 days, are they going to have to pay another $30? Or is it going to
We
be
were talking about that before, about whether they were going to then make it so that you had to pay that high price point, like you were going to the movie theater to watch it at the house. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to have to not do that. They're going to have to come up with some smaller amount than a new release would be for being able to watch it at the house. I think that it'll be a good sweet spot.
I think they're trying to slowly bring it back to the way it was pre-pandemic. Mm-hmm. We're 2 years into this at this point, and everywhere we hear, things are continuing to get bad, but everybody in every state wants to act like it's not. So but again, I said I don't want to get too far into the politics type stuff, but it's apparent and it's out there, and it's something we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, and it's those things that you have to think about, and it stinks. This world is crazy right now, but I want to consume this stuff too. And unfortunately, I have littles in my house and I'm not able to. So I haven't seen Shang-Chi.
Well, it would be kind of the one thing I liked about the at-home viewing was that, when I had really little kids, it made it really hard and expensive to go to the movies, because if you wanted to go, you had to pay for a sitter, and if you wanted to have a good sitter, you had to pay good money, and then the whole day cost money. It was really expensive. And back then, even I was like, well, if there was a way that I could like sign an NDA or whatever, but they would let me watch this at my own house, so that I could nurse babies and put them to bed, and let them play on the floor and scream their heads off and not annoy people, right. Then I would pay. I was honestly saying I would be willing to pay something close to what it would have cost me to get a babysitter, so that I don't have to do that.
I think that's a great idea. Like maybe that is a direction where, like, everything that we consume now is subscription based. Mm-hmm. And maybe we have, I don't know how it would work logistically, but maybe we have some kind of subscription base for each studio, or maybe you can purchase a handful of groups of movies and you get to watch them at home for a small period of time. Mm-hmm. Like the on-demand movies, I got to pay a certain to rent it, and then I watch it for like 3 or 4 days or 7 days or something like that.
Yeah.
Why can't we move to a direction something like that, and put it into this is the thing, put it into the contracts of the people who you're paying that they're going to get some of these monies from this stuff. I think that's the key, right? Pay people who you deserve to be paid. If they're doing a service for you, pay them.
That makes sense. And I honestly don't believe that those companies ever intended to mess people over on it. There just didn't exist the option, and so it wasn't in the contract.
Yeah.
What do you do with it if it's not the contract? You can't like retroactively do stuff. So it was just, I'm sure that no one thought, haha, we're going to get over on these people by releasing it early to digital. We were just like, hey.
No, not at all. I don't think that was the point of this at all. They were not thinking, hey, guess what? We're gonna increase our profits by screwing the actors. No. They were literally trying to sidestep so that they don't lose money, so that they can pay the actors, right? So
it's like, how do I at least recoup the $300 million I spent making this film?
Exactly, right? So many studios took so much loss in the last 2 years, and they are definitely ready to reel back and get it back. I understand. In that position, I'd do the same thing. It's just a rough. I would not listen. I don't want to be that person who has to make that decision right now. So,
I mean, it's tough for everything kind of like out there. Like I was thinking about conventions the other day. It's going to be a little while for them to kind of like find the sweet spot for, having restrictions that protect people that come in and their guests, because if they don't put the restrictions in place, the guests are going to back out.
Yeah.
But so it's got to be this sweet spot of people understanding, like, if we want to make it happen, this is how we make it happen. It's all cosplay.
Listen, we all want to make it happen. There is not one of us sitting at home saying, I don't think I want that this year. I guarantee you, all the creators out there who make a living on these cons. That's some of these guys that the more cons that they go to, that's where they make their money, and that's when usually when they do these commissions and stuff, and they usually pass over the actual final product to the customers there at the con, and they get to talk to them, and it's a whole thing, right?
Yeah, it's where brand new people that are trying to break into the industry. That's where they get the word out. They go shake hands with people that are doing things now and sitting at a table and handing out their, I made this at Kinko's version. You got to do that. I liken it to being a greenhorn on a crab fishing boat. You have to do your time sitting at the one booth at the your one table at the con. You have to do that. It's required.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've got so many buddies who are doing that right now, and that's what they say. It's a hard position to be in, but I guarantee you, not one of them are sitting there saying, "I don't want that this year." Nah, I don't want to go to a con. I don't want to make money. None of them. I guarantee you. But we got to do it right. We got to make sure that it is safe for them to be there. And that's and that's ultimately. I mean. What you guys talked about it a few weeks back when I actually was working at the con where Jason David Frank was almost stabbed by the fan, right? And so we were downstairs, and it came across the radio, and we were all on high alert. It was absolutely crazy. They basically wanted everybody to stay in place. What was amazing was that happened upstairs, and we were downstairs, where all the action happens, all the sales and everything happens, right? Artist down, all that good stuff. Luckily, they kind of blocked everybody off, so nobody can leave there, and nobody can enter in for a small time. So if you were shopping and doing your thing, you didn't really notice it unless you kind of tried to leave. But I mean, they did really good in taking care of everybody, making sure that everybody was safe and sound, and they ushered the people who were nearby and took care of the situation appropriately, and it was making them. They immediately put out a statement as it happened, and they were on top of it. Cons are they are really good at that. Listen, when you are a promoter, you are really good at putting out fires on the go as they come at you. and sometimes you got they never get put out, and they're always going, but you can at least douse them a little bit and put it and take care of a bigger fire. It's the life of a promoter, right? Of a con promoter.
I would say that if you want to truly understand conventions, if you can volunteer at your local ones, you'll understand how much work there is that you don't really notice behind the scenes. It's like there is so many balls that are in the air about, transporting your guests from the airport to their hotel to the con every day and back, and make sure that they get their daily allotments for food, and making sure you take care of anything that they need while they're there. You've got someone that has to make sure that all the people that have booths have someone to communicate with, and if they have an emergency, where do they go? How do they get in load in time? How do you reserve your load in hours, whatever?
So that was my job. So doing all that stuff with speaking with the actual I dealt with people in the artist alley, all the comic book creators and all that stuff. Once they hit the floor, it was my job to make sure that they were good to go, that they were safe, that they had everything they needed. I would give them their daily stipend and things of that nature. So I had to actually be interacting with them and taking care of them and all that stuff. And so that was my job. And I actually had to take them to their panels and all that stuff. So it was me in our team that was handling that stuff. And it is actually true. Absolutely true. You see the inner workings and all the crazy different cogs and in the machine that are moving all at once. And it's an absolutely well-oiled machine that is always breaking down, that can somehow works.
Yeah, there's moments of panic when you realize that a key member can't be there.
Oh, fun. I'm sure that has to be very similar to how you guys handle your business sometimes. You got hiccups and stuff like that coming, and you're always having to move and sidestep and always think, right? So
I'm just like, right now my staff is making it work, because we had our books come half yesterday and half today, which means you have to have your staff come twice to process comics, which is chaos on their schedule because they're so used to coming in just on Tuesday to do it. But they figure it out. We've had to do this kind of pivoting so often recently because of hurricanes and shipping delays and all that kind of stuff. We've got things in place now to handle it when they happen.
That's awesome. So so we've probably got about another 5 to 8 minutes left. The show is based around questions. So I've got a question for you today, Jen. So me and my wife are watching some really, really cool shows, and sometimes it's really hard for me and her to kind of connect on shows, because obviously I like a lot of the comic book stuff and she's not too much into that stuff. So right now we're watching Only Murders in the Building, which is a really cool mystery crime show with Martin Short and Steve Martin and Selena Gomez, and it's really good. I didn't think that it was gonna, but it's such a smart, witty, written show. Is there anything that you and your husband kind of connect over to watch, or something like that? Maybe like a guilty pleasure TV show or something that you guys love to watch together?
Yeah, we just recently discovered Lucifer because Netflix AI kept on poking it in front of us and saying, "You'd like this." And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I'd like it, because DC Vertigo is usually pretty dark, but it just basically amounts to a police procedural. That's what it breaks down to, and it's amazing, super addictive. Rich loves Only Murders in the Building, so I must have to watch it.
Audio popped out, so I'm fixing it. But yeah, looks like Rich said he loves Only Murders in the Building. It's such a really, really cool, smart and witty show. I was. Okay, I can hear you now. So it says, Nova Motor says, I was looking for someone to recommend that show. LOL, I'll watch it now. Yeah, it's so good. You guys I really like Martin Short and I think they might be talking about your show you were talking about, but Martin Short and Steve Martin.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for true crime, and it sounds like it's not true crime, but talks about crime. So
what it is so these three people in and I'm not giving anything away here. There's three people who live in an apartment building in New York, and they are like obsessed with this really cool podcast that Tina Fey is the host of, and it's a true crime podcast. And something happens in their building where they want to start a podcast of their own. So obviously I love this thing because I'm a podcaster and that's my profession. Yep. I actually own a podcast network. So I was like, what, a show about podcasting? I'm all about it. And I'm absolutely in love with it. My wife is all about it too. She's really cool because but yeah, I didn't think she was going to like it. But it was something that we can bond over. It's really good.
Hey, did you know that yesterday was the last day you could watch Ancient Aliens on Netflix? I know, no. Don't panic. No lie. Really? We saw it on the screen yesterday. It's done. Like, why would they do such things? We need that for sleeping.
So I think I've got History Channel on one of the subscriptions that I have, so it's still there for me.
Yeah, we have to go over to, I think Amazon's got it or something.
Amazon or Peacock, or I don't know, one of those. I don't know. All I know is I got History Channel and I saw Ancient.
You want to see me lose my stuff? Have Forensic Files leave Netflix. I'm gonna lose it. I'll call the boss. I'll be like the CEO, and I'll publicly shame them until they bring it back if they lose it.
That's funny. You know what I'm really what I have a really guilty pleasure of on that was on like the History Channel was the Monster Hunters TV show. Do you remember that? Or was that on
I
Discovery
do.
Channel? I think
I love Monster Hunters.
I'm so obsessed with, like, listen, I'm obsessed with Sasquatch. Like, so obsessed. Like, literally, I'm obsessed that I might be dabbling in writing a script about something very similar to this. But no, yeah, I'm so obsessed with Sasquatch. I listen to Sasquatch podcasts. I'll watch TV shows. I'll watch anything that has to do with Sasquatch. I'm all about it. Yeah, it's. Yeah. And I hear Rich is going to be dabbling a little bit with that world. Kind of cool.
Ooh. I like that.
Yeah, super.
My supernatural obsession, other than aliens, of course, is Ghost. For a long time, I watched a bunch of ghost shows, and then they dropped. They all dropped off for a little while. Like all of them started ending, and now a lot of them have come back. So I gotta start adding them back to my recordings.
You should start an alien supernatural podcast, Jen, where you go like search for these things and find out if they're real. That'd be awesome.
People will right away be like, "Going that go crazy."
Have you ever done any like ghost hunting?
No, but so I'll tell you a little bit about my background. Like I'm a Sunday school teacher, so there's like one rule that I know, and it's like, don't talk to the dead. Straight biblical. Don't talk to the dead. So I always say, if it wasn't possible, it wouldn't be forbidden. So there must be a way to talk to the dead. So I just want them to go sometime and just like sit in the building and like listen instead of like talk to them. Just like see if you can get a recording without having like some kind of like poking their buttons, because I think that most of that stuff is just demonic activity.
Yeah, I understand that completely. Like, you don't mess with that stuff. You don't conjure anything creepy. You don't mess with that because I learned that a long time ago. I said, nope, not mess with that. Yeah, Rich says that he's got something coming up called Gettysburg.
Gettysburg.
I love it. I think it has to do with the Civil War. It's freaking awesome, or the obviously Gettysburg Address, and somewhere in that era. So that's really cool, dude. I'm all about that, dude. I'm gonna be I will be your advocate for that book, seriously, because like, get me a T-shirt that has that, and I will wear it every single day. Like, seriously, I want it to say Gettysburg, and it has to have the Sasquatch, and you know what I'm talking about. All right, Yep. I'm so obsessed so much that my wife found this really cool uh Santa Claus Sasquatch like walking, but he's got the Santa Claus hat. I want to wear it every day. But I can't because it's not Christmas.
No.
Every day is Christmas when you're thinking about Sasquatch, Jen. I'm serious.
It might be true.
All right, Jen. I think that is the show. You want to let everybody know where they can find you and if you got anything cool coming up for any of the locals?
I've got a million live shows. If you just follow me, Jen King, on Facebook, it's probably the easiest way to find out what I'm doing because I'll always share it to my Facebook page when I'm going live. So it'll help you find me. It's just the easiest way to follow me.
Awesome. And awesome. Obviously, we can find you guys here every Wednesday. What is it? 1:30 EST. So hang out with these guys every week. Hopefully James will be back next week. He was just really busy today and swamped. He couldn't make it. So he will be back next week if schedule permits. But you can find me anywhere. If you guys look up the Geek Collective or my name, you can find me anywhere. Also, tonight I've got a live stream, Wednesday Warriors tonight. I think it is at 9 p.m. EST. We're going to talk about all kinds of cool geeky stuff. A lot of stuff we'll talk about here and more because we're going to go deeper into some really cool stuff. Talk about all the geeky stuff that happened within the last week. Jen, I thank you for letting me come and take over your show and hang out with you. It's been a whole lot of fun. You guys are awesome. You guys make me listen. Wednesday mornings are a whole lot of fun for me because I get to hang out with James and Jen and listen to some really cool conversation every single week. I appreciate you guys every day. Thank you.
Always fun. I like to play connect the dots with people in the industry, so this makes me happy.
Awesome. All right. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.